All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Armchair Armdrager podcast. As always, I am your host, Ben Hersick, and this week it's War Games. Very excited for Takeover that on Saturday. Very excited for Survivor Series on Sunday. Really looking forward to those shows. First time in a while I can say that about a main roster show. So this week, predictions heavy. Yeah, that's really what it's going to be. I'm not going to talk a lot about AEW because not too much is going on there right now until they start building up for their next show, which will probably be in the winter, I'm assuming. Sometime, I'm going to say middle to late January, best guess. Uh, but yeah, there's that. So, yeah. As always, before I start these podcasts, little Twitter mentions and follows where you can find me at on social media. You can follow myself on Twitter at Churro Soldier. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat, which is a website I write for that covers professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We were talking about our December schedule, and we are jam-packed. I think I can actually pull that up as far as like what we were talking about and like what our schedule is looking like. So I'm looking at our schedule right now. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We have 22 articles going up over a 22-day period. There's a couple days in there with no articles, but it's going to be jam-packed before we go on our Christmas break. We do have a couple articles coming out during that Christmas break. We'll address those when we get to them. But I'm working on 7 year-end lists, and my God, I finished a 2,500-word paper for school earlier today. I have another 1,500-word paper for school that I have to finish tonight, that I want to finish tonight, and I'm at maybe 400 there. Almost 1,000 words left, so progress at least. But you can follow them at us at Things Combat. We're very excited. We're getting ready for hopefully a big year next year. We want to grow. We want to expand. If you're interested in writing, hit me up on Twitter. Hit them up on Twitter. Hit anybody up on Twitter, and we'll be more than happy to allow you to write for us. And also, I'm the sports editor over at the Cauldron at Cleveland State. You can follow them us on Twitter at CSU Cauldron. And let's see. Last issue I wrote about the cross country team finishing their season and the men's soccer team wrapping up theirs. I put a tweet out about it I thought was a pretty funny thing. When a team goes from third place in the conference standings with 4 games left to play to 7th place and missing the conference tournament, well, the title speaks for itself. Men's soccer team collapses down the stretch. Women's cross country, or just the cross country team at Cleveland State, didn't do much at the end of the season, so there's that too. But yeah, that's the Twitter stuff. Feel free to follow me anywhere and everywhere. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. I do want to touch a little bit, before we get to the predictions, on the Jim Cornette situation with NWA Power. As many of you know, or some of you might know, there was remarks made by Cornette that were deemed dehumanizing, I believe is the correct way to say it. Also, I'm bad with pronouncing words in the first place, so it's always a question of if I said something right at all. But yeah, it was very dehumanizing remarks, and him and the NWA have since parted ways. I believe Cornette resigned. And honestly, it's a good job of the NWA. From what I know, they don't put... The episodes are taped. They're not live. I don't know how far ahead they're taped. I don't know if this one was just... If they edited the day of it going out. I don't know. Or if they just don't touch it at all, and they're like, we're just going to go with it. If it is an editing team, somebody messed up and should have taken something out, but still word would have gotten out that Cornette had said something at some point. So, honestly, it was a great job of the NWA. They handled it in a quick and timely manner. Very happy with that. And I've been meaning to watch NWA Power. I haven't had time because of school. Thanksgiving break's coming up, and maybe I'll have a couple days free? Because I want to play... I'm also, for people who don't know, I'm a big video game person. I want to beat Luigi's Mansion 3 and the Mario and Sonic at the Olympics story mode, which is, I'm on like chapter 12 of what feels like it's going to be 35 chapters, before I finish Fire Emblem and Pokemon Sword. That's a problem because I really want to play Pokemon right now. And I don't want to do my schoolwork, so, oh well. This is just me complaining about school right now. I'm like, I don't want to be in school. I just want to play video games and watch wrestling. Story of my life. So, that's it. Good job by the NWA getting rid of Cornette in a very quick and timely manner, handling everything with fantastic care and listening to fans, which is something a couple other companies could be doing right now. But anyway, I digress. I'm not going to talk about the reason WWE should listen to fans. That's going to be for probably maybe 2 weeks down the line, maybe 3 weeks. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it at some point. But let's get into predictions. The first set of predictions I'm going to do is Takeover War Games. We got 4 matches right now. I can see a 5th one possibly developing Friday night on 205 Live. It's a possibility. I'm not going to say no. I can see Lio Rush and Angel Garza being added to the card for the Cruiserweight Championship. That would be a very interesting match because the two had a really good match on NXT TV 2 weeks ago, I had to think. It was a very fun match. It was very high-paced, high-action, and both guys came out looking strong. It was a very dicey finish, too, so it was like they're leaving the door open for the rematch to happen, possibly at TakeOver, which I would be totally fine if it did, and I would enjoy it. As far as, like, if that match is announced, I would pick a winner. I would still say Lio Rush because it's still really early in his reign. I don't think they want him to lose the title just yet. Triple H seems to really like him, and understandably. If he does lose the title at some point, I would say 3 takeovers from now would sound right. Have him retain at TakeOver WrestleMania weekend. Have him retain at either the Money in the Bank TakeOver or the TakeOver somewhere in the middle. And then have him lose it at SummerSlam TakeOver. And then maybe transition him into the mid-card scene to be in the North American title conversation. Or even the NXT Championship conversation, for all we know. Garza is going to be phenomenal. I don't know how long Garza is going to be in NXT. Because I can see him working very well on the main roster. Either as a heel teaming with Andrade, a heel by himself, working with Humberto over on Raw. Maybe even Rey Mysterio. Maybe we get a Latino stable. I have pitched this idea to a couple friends where, say Lesnar loses the title one night and he wants a rematch, but then like a lot of these young guys come out like Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander, Humberto Carrillo, Andrade. Not necessarily Andrade, but you'll understand why in a second. But like you have young guys come out, like a stable of young guys, and they all beat down Lesnar, and Heyman's watching like as a scared person. They turn to Heyman, and Heyman just starts smiling. And then you can see, oh, these are the new Heyman guys. These are who Heyman is really behind. I would like to see it. It would be something very interesting, and I would enjoy it a lot. But, oh, wait a minute. The thing just came in for NXT, and I missed it. Where'd it go? Where are the ratings? What are the ratings? They did it. Wow. Okay. NXT beat AEW in the ratings. Cool. I don't care. I'm just here to watch pro wrestling. Numbers don't mean anything to me. But that's the 5th match that could possibly be added to TakeOver. Let's talk about the 4 matches that are official. First up, let's start with the one singles match on this show. Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle. This one kind of feels cut and dry. It's going to be Finn Balor. Finn Balor's back in NXT. He's going to win his first match back in NXT. And he's going to win his first match as a heel. It's going to be very interesting to see the development of the Finn Balor character going forward because of the fact that now we're seeing heel Balor. We have not seen heel Balor in WWE. How much are they going to let him go? How much of a leash is he going to have? I say give him no leash, let him do him. And then go from there. Which is what I would really enjoy seeing. Riddle's somebody who can eat the loss too. He's not doing much. He's kind of like the signee who, yeah, they're good, but they don't really have anything for them right now. But like you can't have that big of a name just sitting at the Performance Center. So they were like, well, what do we do? You put him on TV, you have him have a couple good matches, and now it's like, it's not that he's being buried, it's just that they don't have anything like any big plans for him. And this was a swerve at the last second. Not a swerve, a change at the last second from what I can kind of see. It was supposed to be Balor Gargano, I think, at TakeOver War Games. But with Gargano's injury, in steps Matt Riddle.
Out he goes from the War Games match, and now we got to figure out the fourth there, which I'll touch on here in a brief bit. But like I said, I think Balor gets this win easy. I don't think we even need to see the Demon here. And I'll kind of like figure out where these guys are going to go for the next Takeover. Because right now there's no Takeover Rumble weekend. That is going to be Worlds Collide. And I'll explain stuff about that in a little bit, at least from what we know about the first Worlds Collide tournament. Now let's get to the triple threat between Pete Dunne, Killian Dane, and Damian Priest, where the winner goes on to Survivor Series to challenge Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. This one, I'm kind of torn. I'm torn on two of them. I don't think it's going to be Killian Dane. And I think they're not going to have him take the fall or tap out or anything like that. I think they want to start to build Killian Dane up to be this big, strong monster. Kind of like how Drew McIntyre was built for his NXT run. Kind of this unbeatable thing who only loses when he tears his bicep, I believe it was. So Dane, I'm kind of like writing off. He's just kind of in the match so that way they can start to like build him up and progress him up the ladder. That leaves Damian Priest and Pete Dunne. Now, with Pete Dunne, you get a more straightforward match with Adam Cole. You get the face versus heel dynamic. You get two guys who just want to beat the ever-living crap out of each other. And you get a nice little mix of styles. Dunne is more physical, but also he has that finesse of the amateur wrestling. Cole has a bit more of flash and a lot more big moves. So those two I think worked together before, if I remember right. They were in the War Games match last year. That's where it was. Those two worked together really, really well. And giving a chance to see those two go one-on-one for maybe 15 minutes, who knows, maybe fans will be interested in NXT guys. But also, there's Damian Priest. I've told you guys before, I am very high on Damian Priest. I think he isn't going to be the next coming of great big men, but he's going to be somebody we talk about for a long time. Damian Priest is the kind of guy that I think is going to have that longevity WWE wants to see in its superstars, and that they're going to get out of him. Priest is a very safe wrestler, too. He's not overly flashy, but he does a lot of nice moves, and he's somebody they're kind of like building around. I look at Priest as kind of like this pet project Triple H kind of has, where he can develop him into being a great pro wrestler. As Punishment Martinez, he wasn't bad. He wasn't a bad Ring of Honor guy. He was okay. But you saw the flashes of potential there. So now you look at it through these different glasses, you see, oh, maybe there is something here. Maybe there's a future star waiting in Damian Priest. And I think we're going to see that here at TakeOver, because Damian Priest is somebody who I've been shouting to the heavens about how good this guy has been for years. About 3 years, to be fair. I think. Yeah, 3 years. He's got the potential. He's going to be a big name. Is he going to be world championship level name? Who knows? Maybe at some point. But right now, he's going to be one of the guys who I think stays in NXT a little longer than we expect. Because it's kind of like the Ciampa situation. I thought Ciampa would have gotten called up by now. Called up in air quotes. But I think we see Priest stay a little longer than we expect. He does eventually get the NXT championship, I think. From the right face, he can get that NXT championship. From the face where it's like, we know he's going up now. So Damian can come in and take the title, and no one's going to be mad about it. Hopefully. As for this match, though, I think Dunne makes the most sense. Simply because it would be weird to have a ton of fans who only watch the main roster and are only going to watch Survivor Series have their first taste of NXT be heel versus heel. Because I think Cole versus whoever it's going to be is going to kick off the show. Not the pre-show. The actual show. And it's interesting because of the fact that you have such a good dynamic between Dunne and Priest, that their feud kind of has been pushed to the wayside because Killian Dane needed to be inserted to this match. Did Dane need to be inserted? No, not really, but I'm fine with him being in there. I like Killian Dane. So I think Priest takes the fall, and maybe we don't see him on TV for a week-ish, just to kind of like recover, and then we see him go into his next big feud, whoever that's with. Maybe he gets the big push in Worlds Collide. I don't know. Let's get on to the War Games matches, though. We have 2 War Games matches. One of these is kicking off the show. I think it's going to be the women. And that's not to throw any shade at the women's division on NXT. Like I said, I think they can run circles around most women's divisions in the world. But it's a historic first time ever match. Why not start the show off with a bang? Start it off with that historic first time ever match. Start it off with War Games, with the sirens, with the smoke, so you know this show is legit. So we have Team Ripley, which is Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Tegan Nox, and Mia Yim, going against Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Kaylee Ray of Team Team Baszler. That's the word. So this match is interesting. At first, I completely forgot Kaylee Ray was even an option. I thought it was going to be Dakota Kai turning heel. Me and a lot of people on Twitter thought that. I didn't think Kaylee Ray would have been an option. So now let's look at it as this. The title's not on the line, but Baszler has a huge match the next night. So I can kind of count Baszler out of the finish. Whatever the finish is, she's not going to be involved. They're going to want to protect her as much as possible. So, kind of spoil my prediction. Either Shirai, Bianca Belair, or Kaylee Ray is taking the fall. I think just to get eyes on NXT, you have Kaylee Ray take the fall. I honestly think that. Well, no, that would make her look weak going into Takeover Blackpool. But when is Takeover Blackpool 2 even on? Take over Blackpool. Oh, it's Takeover UK, right? Blackpool. Let's go with Cardiff, and then let's go forward one. Because they've announced Takeover Blackpool 2. Oh, it's in January? Yeah, you could have Kaylee Ray take the fall if you absolutely wanted to. Because she already has a match announced for that show. Actually, the entire show is set. Wow, that was quick. She has a match on that show right now. But maybe you don't have her take the fall. And honestly, right now, with how NXT looks, Bianca is the only one really not with any true program going forward. Io, you can kind of see maybe something with the Kabuki Warriors. Maybe if NXT can sign another Japanese women's wrestler that's a heel, maybe we could see Io Shirai in that one, whoever that happens to be, versus the Kabuki Warriors at some point. But I think Team Ripley is winning this match. I don't think Rhea pins Shayna. I think we're going to see Rhea versus Shayna at TakeOver Tampa Bay. But I don't think we see them pin the other here. I see. Oh, it's tough. It's really tough. Honestly, after the outing she had 2 weeks ago, let Mia Yim get the fall. Let Mia Yim get that push, get that rub, get that momentum, whatever you want to use, whatever term you want to use. Let Mia Yim get that, because I think she has earned it after 2 weeks ago. She broke, I think it was a broken nasal passage, and she still went out there and finished that match. She suffered broken ribs. She was out on Friday Night SmackDown, wrestling in an 8-woman tag match. I think Team NXT, I think that this is Team NXT. That shows you their toughness, their grit, their determination to be the best they can be. And I think it's worth it, because I think Mia Yim can pick up the fall on Bianca Belair, and then you can kind of see some stemming paths here. You see Rhea versus Shayna Baszler happening. If Mia Yim can get it, well, no, you have Team Kick. Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox could do something later down the line. And Candice LeRae. Here's the thing: the NXT Women's Division is so stacked that even though they're bringing stars over from NXT UK, there's an overstackage, and you need to send some of them to the main roster. Which is why I said Shayna should have gone last year. Although I didn't really think Io Shirai was ready for the title yet. And I didn't think Bianca was going to win it at TakeOver 25. But hey, that was just my opinions. I think Team Ripley wins this one with Mia Yim picking up the fall over Bianca Belair. We'll see how that goes. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm not a machine that can predict the future. I don't know. So let's go to the men's match. The men's War Game match, and what I'm pretty sure is going to be the main event. You have the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong. I keep forgetting their names sometimes, or I say them out of the order that I'm expecting to say, which are the NXT champion, the NXT Tag Team champions, and the North American champion, against Team Ciampa and Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominic Dijakovic, and to be announced. Now, I've seen some theories going around that, it could be Gargano, it could be Velveteen Dream. I enjoy those theories. I love reading these theories. But the one reason I don't believe those theories is because they are legitimately injured. If they're not medically cleared, or if we don't hear that they're medically cleared before the show, I don't even want to think for a second that they will be on that team. I don't want to expect it. I don't want to see it. I don't want that to be the situation. And I don't want them to be rushed back either. Like, eventually I think we do see Gargano Balor, and eventually I do think we see Velveteen Dream make his return to the Gold and Black brand. But I don't think War Games is necessarily what they need to come back. They don't need such a high-pressure situation or such a high-level intensity match just coming back from injury. That could potentially injure them again after just being medically cleared. Does NXT have a history of having injured guys go right into big programs? Yes. Look at Dominic Dijakovic, for crying out loud. Dijakovic had knee surgery, and he missed 3 months. He went right back into beating the hell out of himself and Keith Lee. He went right back into going through ladders on NXT. It can work, yes, but it always makes me a little nervous whenever I watch it, because I'm like, don't hurt yourself again just because now you're back. So there's two theories that I've been enjoying seeing. One is the return of John Morrison to NXT. Yes, I can see that happening. I would not mind seeing that happen. I would enjoy it a lot. But I think if you're going to have that big of a name come to NXT, you want it on a bigger show. You want it on a bigger stage. You want that to happen on Sunday for the men's 5-on-5-on-5 tag team match. You have Morrison come back then and be that fifth man. People know Morrison. People will remember the name John Morrison. And this is a whole if and or situation. We don't know if he's actually signed to a contract. This is all just rumor and speculation, rumor and innuendo, as some people would say. But this could be, if it is John Morrison, that would be the return of the year. Return to NXT, and going to NXT would be very interesting because of the fact that there's such a good talent level right there right now. How does he fit in? Where does he go? What does he do? It makes you sit and wonder. But just because of the fact that he's not signed, and I don't get me wrong, I enjoy reading the theories and I enjoy listening to people's reasoning. But I think that it's just a little bit too much of a risk for me to predict that he's going to be on Team NXT. I think there's a little bit of somebody. There's somebody who's proven something the past few weeks who deserves a spot. He deserves a chance. He wants a thing. You can see that he wants to be a big-time player on NXT. He wants to be that guy, and that is Isaiah Swerve Scott. I think it's going to be Swerve. Simply because of the fact he's had 3 great matches over the past month. He had the one with Bronson Reed. He had the one with Roderick Strong. He had the one with Dominic Dijakovic. There was another one in there that I'm forgetting between Strong and Dijakovic, but I don't want to look it up. And it's stuff like that that shows the people backstage that they have a talent right there that's ready. Just give them a chance. And knowing Triple H, I can see him giving that chance to Swerve. I can see Swerve getting the call to be that fourth man, and spoiler alert, being the fourth man for the Survivor Series team for NXT. That would be the perfect spot for Swerve. It would let him show off his abilities, let him show off what he can do, let him show off just how talented he is to such a large audience. I don't know what these network pay-per-views pull in, but I'm assuming it's a pretty high number. Raw and SmackDown usually average about 2 million viewers. NXT this week averaged just under 1 million. These guys are going to be the future. And no better way to show somebody that this person is the guy that we're going to call our future guy than giving him a spot on a team in War Games. And I think you look at it, I see Team Ciampa picking up the win because of Swerve. I can see Swerve pinning either O'Reilly or Fish to win that match. That way you keep Cole strong for the next night and you keep everybody really looking strong for the next night because it's going to be a 40-minute War Games match. Nobody's going to go into the next night looking weak. But those are my official TakeOver War Games picks. If a fifth match is added and it's the Cruiserweight Championship match, I have Lio Rush over Angel Garza. I have Finn Balor over Matt Riddle. Pete Dunne winning the triple threat. Team Ripley winning the first ever women's War Game match. And Team Ciampa picking up the win in the men's with Isaiah Scott being the fourth person on the team. Although, like I said, I'm not ruling out Morrison, but with no news, it's very nervous to make that pick for me, and I just can't pull myself to take that risk. Now let's go to Survivor Series. Survivor Series, first time ever, Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. And I need to have paper ready to do this match. I do have a pen on me, I believe. I'm going to start with all the non-brand supremacy matches as they're being tagged, at least on Wikipedia. So we're going to have a column for Raw, for SmackDown, and for NXT. So there are 8 matches. 3 of them are non-brand supremacy matches. 8, 7, 6. So that leaves 5. How the hell? This is going to be annoying, and it's going to be an obvious winner going into the main event, isn't it? I just want NXT to finish on the board, at least, to be fair. I just want that. We could see another match added to this for all we know. So let's start with Adam Cole versus the War Games winner, the NXT TakeOver War Games triple threat winner. My prediction is Pete Dunne. Adam Cole's winning because it's Adam Cole, and you're not going to have this title go off of Cole for a little while still. Okay, let's go back a little bit. Now, right now, the next TakeOver is not until Tampa Bay because the TakeOver Royal Rumble weekend is being replaced with Worlds Collide. Worlds Collide is a tournament where the winner gets a title shot of their choosing. Now, just because of that, I'm ruling out all the champions, so all of Undisputed Era, and if they have a women's tournament as well, ruling out Shayna Baszler. I'm also going to rule out Tommaso Ciampa, and right now the injured guys in Gargano and Velveteen Dream, and Finn Balor, to be fair. I'm also going to rule out Rhea Ripley from Worlds Collide. So whoever wins those tournaments gets a future title shot. If it's 2 tournaments, if it's 1, who knows? But that does leave the question of Tampa Bay. What are our matches going to be going into TakeOver Tampa Bay? Well, Riddle's going to be involved in a match, you can imagine. Finn Balor's going to have a match. Maybe that's where we see Balor Gargano. But I don't think so. We see Gargano versus somebody. I don't know who exactly off the top of my head. Maybe Velveteen Dream. That'd be a good one. We haven't seen that since the North American title match on NXT a long time ago. I believe January. So, I think the NXT Championship match at TakeOver Tampa Bay is a triple threat. You have Cole, you have Ciampa, and you have Finn Balor. I think Balor pins Cole because I think all of Undisputed Era and Tommaso Ciampa are making the jump up to the main roster. So you have Balor as your NXT champion. Women's Championship match is going to be Baszler versus Ripley. I see Ripley winning because I think Baszler's going to the main roster, probably Raw, to take the title from Becky Lynch. And then Becky moves over to SmackDown because Fox probably wants Becky Lynch. That's my complete reasoning for that one. Tag team titles are a little bit more complicated because there's no other real definitive tag team. I say why not give it to either have Lee Dijakovic or Lee Riddle. You have about 6 months to build up that tag team, whichever one you choose, and then you see what happens there. Excuse me. And then North American title, I don't know, Roddy versus Swerve. Or it's either going to be Roddy versus Swerve, Roddy versus Dijakovic, or Roddy versus Riddle. One of those three, Roddy drops the title, makes the jump. There's the entire Takeover card for Tampa Bay. My predictions. I'm not going to go over it because it's probably going to change about 7,000 times from here to now. Or from here to then. But anyway, back to the Survivor Series. Cole wins over Pete Dunne because I don't see him losing his title until Tampa Bay. I don't think he's even really going to be challenged that hard. But that's the first one. There's only two other ones there, and it's both the WWE and Universal Championship matches. The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. Here's the thing. While, yes, the Fiend has to win, at some point, the Fiend has to lose. And that question is, who is going to be the person to beat the Fiend? And that's very hard. It's not going to be Bryan. That's pretty obvious. But at some point, he has to lose the title. It's so weird to think that nowadays we're living in an era where we're like, who the hell can this person lose to? Because whoever it is going to get booed out of the building. So is it a heel? Is it nefarious means? Something along those lines? Who knows? Is it Undertaker? Just gonna throw names out there and hope something sticks. But yeah, that seems like an easy cut and dry one. I thought maybe they could have filled this in to be another match where the winners eventually meet later in the night. But who knows? As of right now, that's not happening. So let's look at the WWE Championship match. Now, this one is where it gets interesting, because the first two, the NXT Championship match and the Universal Championship match, seem pretty cut and dry. The Universal one, or the WWE Championship one, not so much. Does Brock Lesnar retain, or does Rey Mysterio take the title from him in a no-holds-barred match? So Rey can use that lead pipe. It's really hard to figure out because of the fact that it's Brock Lesnar and you always want Brock to lose the title, but it's Rey Mysterio and fans love Rey Mysterio, but he's also getting older and he's not as... I hate saying this about Rey because he's still phenomenal in the ring, but he's not as good as he was 3-4 years ago. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Do I want to see Rey Mysterio as your WWE champion in 2019? Or do I want Brock to stay as WWE champion in 2019 and show up maybe another 2 times before WrestleMania? It's a tough thing to figure out because of the fact that there's a lot of questions there. I'm going to play it safe and go with Lesnar simply because of the fact that Lesnar is somebody who can take a loss, yes, but also Rey Mysterio is somebody who could easily take a loss. It's honestly kind of hard to look at it like as a fan because you're like, you don't know. You genuinely don't know. But I enjoy that. You're like, I don't know who's going to win, but now I'm curious to see who is actually going to win. So now let's get into the brand supremacy matches, which I'm still annoyed that there's 5. So, So if they had a 6th, that would get it to be a 2-2-2 score, possibly. Or somebody winning 3-2-1. So I think we do see a 6th match added. Cruiserweights, maybe? So each show, like, NXT has a lot of cruiserweights, yes. SmackDown has Gulak, who's doing nothing, and Raw has Buddy Murphy. It could make sense. It could really make sense. But let's start with the tag team title match, the triple threat, Raw tag team champs versus SmackDown tag team champs versus NXT tag team champs, with the Viking Raiders versus the New Day versus Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. This one is going to be fun. If Revival versus Undisputed Era was anything to be surprised for or to set the tone for this show, my God, these three teams are going to tear it down. I'm excited. I'm very excited. Although, picking the winner is kind of hard. But I have a theory. Fish and O'Reilly had lost the night before. They could eat the loss. But does anybody want them to go 2 nights in a row where they lose both times? I think no. I think you can count them out as taking the loss. New Day can take it. Specifically Big E. I can see Viking Raiders beating Big E because of the fact that Kofi is now a former WWE champion, so you have to keep him looking strong. So, that being said, you have Viking Raiders continue their unbeaten streak, continue looking like the most dominant team in WWE, and getting Raw on the board early, having the lead early, 1-0, or as people say, 1-0. It seems like an easy match kind of too, also, because like the Viking Raiders are undefeated. New Day just won their tag team titles, so they could take the loss. Undisputed Era is Undisputed Era. People know how good they are, so it'd be kind of weird seeing them lose back-to-back nights too, to be fair. Let's go to the mid-card title match, which on paper is maybe the best one. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Roderick Strong. Give them 20 minutes. Please, please, whoever decides the match lengths in WWE, give these three 20 minutes. They will blow your mind. It's that simple. You think about it too, AJ and Nakamura have history. AJ and Roddy have a little history. Roddy and Nakamura, not really, but this could be the start of something special between those two. And the winner for this one's kind of hard to think. Like, you would think AJ Styles because of the fact that he's pushed to the freaking moon. But with him defending the title against Humberto Carrillo, do you want Styles to win such a big match going into that title defense? Or do you have him lose that big match to make people think, oh, maybe Carrillo's going to beat him on Monday night? Which, to be fair, I could see happening. Nakamura, we don't know what the hell the direction is for the Intercontinental title at this point. Bryan's in a different feud now. Miz is not an option anymore. So, what do you do? And then Roddy, he's part of that great mid-card division for NXT. So, there's that to think about as well. Now, I look at it. This match is... The only reason this match is hard to predict is because it depends on who you want to get the point. Does Raw get the point and take a 2-0 lead? Does SmackDown get the point to tie things up at 1 and keep NXT at 0? Or does NXT get the point to kind of level the playing field against Raw? It's really hard to say because of the fact that you have these three guys who are so talented that you can't really see who takes the loss. You can't see who's going to take the fall. But my prediction is AJ Styles gets the win over Shinsuke, keeping Roddy fine. Shinsuke can take it because we don't know the direction of the Intercontinental program at this point. Plus, then you fast forward to the next night on Raw, AJ versus Humberto Carrillo. Carrillo beats AJ, and now Carrillo's a big deal. He just beat a guy who beat Shinsuke Nakamura, who by the transitive property, Carrillo should be the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I joke about that part, but still. This is maybe the hardest one for me to predict on this whole show. So it's like you look at it, there's so much that you have to figure out with this match. Who takes the fall? How much time do they get? Are the styles going to mesh completely well? And I think they can because you have AJ with his hard hitting and quote unquote high flying. You have Roddy with his striking. You have Nakamura with his striking. It's three of kind of the same blend of talent. So it's like, how do they all, work together? Can they survive? And I think you look at it, it can work. Can they? It's like a lot of mouths to feed, yes, but you can feed all those mouths, which is totally fine. So AJ gets the win. Raw goes up 2-0-0, and it becomes something interesting then, because there's only 5 matches for brand supremacy right now. So now, the best NXT and SmackDown can do at this point is just tie. Since you look at it, there's still 3 matches left, yes, but also because we're at this weird number, we don't really know. Maybe they add a 10-man tag team match for each division. I don't know. Who knows? But let's talk about the women's championship match, because this is where I think things get interesting. The women's champions match, excuse me. Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Shayna Baszler. There's a lot of B's in that match. This has kind of been a 2-horse race, with the third one being like, hey, don't forget about me, which has kind of been the story of Bayley's whole main roster run, to be fair. Is it annoying? Yes, but it's true. I look at this as Bayley's going to do a little bit here and there, but she's not going to do too much to steal the show. This is mostly going to be Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. These two have been going at it for weeks. These two are the main focal point of the feud, of the match too. So these two are going to do a lot to each other. I can see them going back and forth for a long time. And then Baszler locking in the Kirifuda clutch. She's turned some way so that she can't see Becky. Becky's shoulders are down. Since it's a triple threat and there's no disqualification, you might see where I'm going with this. Bayley attacks Baszler with a chair, and incapacitated Becky Lynch, like completely motionless, gets pinned by Bayley, getting SmackDown on the board. That makes total sense to me. And that way, Baszler looks strong, Becky looks strong because she just got choked out, and you can't kick out if you're passed out. And Bayley comes out looking like the ultimate opportunist of this generation. And as a heel, she needs something to go with right now. She needs a story. She needs something to go. Like, I don't mind heel Bayley. I've been enjoying heel Bayley. But when heel Bayley's best accolade is that I'm the best, I'm just the champion, I'm like, what else is there? Prove that you're the best of the 3 champions and go and win that match. That's all you need to do, Bayley. Win the match, so I'm right. But that would put it 2 to Raw, 1 to SmackDown, 0 to NXT. Now, the advantage NXT has in the last 2 matches is that you don't know their teams. For the 5-on-5-on-5, you don't know who the teams are going to be. So, let's start with the women's one. Team Raw, you have Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Sarah Logan. Team SmackDown, you have Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross. And on Team NXT, we have to be announced, but it's probably going to be Shayna Baszler. Nope, not Shayna Baszler. That's the wrong team. Rhea Ripley, Tegan Nox, Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, and the 5th person kind of seems obvious, Dakota Kai. That's going to be Team NXT, and that's who's going to win this match. Look at the rest of the teams. Charlotte Flair and Natalya in feuds with Asuka and Kairi Sane. Sarah Logan, we haven't seen her on Raw in, 4 months, 5 months? SmackDown, you have Sasha Banks, who's one of the bigger heels in the division. Carmella and Dana Brooke, who haven't been on TV a lot recently, to be fair. Lacey Evans, who doesn't seem like she plays nice with anybody. And Nikki Cross, who's like the best team player. And I can see Sasha costing Nikki Cross not her spot, but like Sasha costing Nikki her place in the match and getting her eliminated. Then Team NXT, look at it. You have a solid tag team who works together well. You have Mia Yim, who came to the aid of Dakota Kai. You have Candice LeRae, who's just a bubbly person. And Rhea Ripley, who, yes, pretty much just cares for herself. But after the night before, she would trust those 3 the three before ones, Ray, Yim, and Knox. And also, she almost picked Dakota Kai. If Mia Yim didn't come out with that kendo stick, Dakota Kai would have been the fourth probably. So there's that. You look at that. That gets NXT on the board. It's 2-1-1 going into the main event, which is the men's 5-on-5-on-5. I say the main event because I think the past 2 years it's come down to the men's 5-on-5-on-5. The men's 5-on-5. Well, no, 1 year it came down to the men's 5-on-5. Last year was Raw's quote-unquote clean sweep. And then then there's this year, which there would be a lot in the line because they could technically tie up the NXT and SmackDown could tie Raw, which is why I think there's going to be at least one more match added, so that way we don't end in a tie. Somebody could be completely eliminated before the main event, so maybe add 2. Let's see, if you add 2 matches, that would make it 10 minus 3, which is 7. So Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Raw with the Viking Raiders, Raw with Styles, SmackDown with Bayley, SmackDown with another one, NXT with those 2, and there would still be 1 left over. So I think we might see 2 other brand supremacy matches announced, possibly a cruiserweight one, and possibly best of the rest. Because there's still like guys on the team, or like a tag team one, maybe, I don't know. But each show doesn't have that many tag teams, so it's like, what are you doing? Or all 3 shows don't have a lot of tag teams, so it's like, what do you do? But Team Raw consists, for the men's 5-on-5-on-5, Team Raw consists of Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Ricochet. Team SmackDown consists of Roman Reigns, Mustafa Ali, Braun Strowman, King Corbin, and Shorty G. Chad Gable. I'm going to fight Vince McMahon if I ever see him for naming Chad Gable Shorty G. But they gave Mustafa Ali his first name back, so that's cool. And then there's Team NXT, who still is to be announced, but it's probably going to be Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominic Dijakovic, Isaiah Scott. Still getting used to that, as you can tell. And then the 5th person, who, as I said earlier, I think would be John Morrison. And you look at it again, Team NXT would be the one that's the most cohesive and together. Team Raw, McIntyre and Owens just fought each other. Randy Orton and Ricochet don't trust each other. Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin have issues. Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable are friends. Braun Strowman's in there for himself. Team NXT, you have 4 guys who just went to war probably, and the 5th guy who's completely fresh, and possibly in the WWE ring for the first time since 2011 off the top of my head. This could be the night NXT surprises the world and wins brand supremacy. And I do have a couple of ideas. Like, yes, I think Reigns and Corbin, are going to eliminate each other. Somehow Corbin's going to get counted out. Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable can eat pinfalls or submissions, to be fair. Team Raw is a little bit harder. Orton and Ricochet don't like each other. Those 2 can kind of cancel each other out. Possibly. McIntyre's McIntyre. I don't know how you get rid of McIntyre, to be fair. Maybe Keith Lee. The pop-up to the Spirit Bomb, or whatever they're calling it in NXT, the pop-up to that with the guy McIntyre's size was flawless. That was so good. And I can see, because we've been clamoring for this for months, we being fans. We've wanted this for months. A Seth Rollins heel turn. I can see that happening here. When it's down to him and KO against maybe 2 or 3 members of Team Ciampa left, Rollins looks across the ring, super kicks Owens, stomp, walks out, they pin Owens, NXT wins. I can see that happening. Do I think it's going to happen? No, because they want Seth to be the face of the company. Well, the face of the Raw portion of the company, at least. But it's what I want to happen. I can totally see them doing something like this. Because it makes so much sense that it would be dumb not to do it to me. So we'll see how that goes. So to recap my predictions for Survivor Series, Adam Cole over Pete Dunne, who would win the TakeOver War Games Triple Threat. Bray Wyatt over Daniel Bryan. Brock Lesnar over Rey Mysterio. The Viking Raiders winning the Tag Team Triple Threat. AJ Styles winning the Mid-Card Triple Threat. Bayley winning the Women's Triple Threat. And Team NXT sweeping the 5-on-5-on-5s. So that's going to be it for this week. This one went a little longer than I was hoping, but oh well. So thank you guys so much for listening, as always. You can follow myself on Twitter at Churro Salad, or you can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat on Twitter at Things Combat, where we cover professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. December is going to be a busy month. We have 22 articles in 22 days. Very exciting. My fingers are going to be bleeding every single day, which is great. I'm also the sports editor over at The Cauldron at Cleveland State, and you can follow us on Twitter at CSU Cauldron. We cover a wide variety of stuff. Since I'm the sports editor, I cover mostly sports. This past issue, I wrote about the men's soccer team and how they went from being third place to being seventh place and missing the conference tournament. And I also covered cross country, where they ran a lot. That's the best way I can describe cross country. Cross country. Blech. But as always, thank you guys, like I said, I think already once, thank you guys so much for listening. If you like what you heard, leave a like, leave a comment if you want to discuss something in the comments below. Hit subscribe if you really want to, because that'd be cool. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll have Takeover and Survivor Series reactions, thoughts, impressions, whatever the word you want to use is next week. That's going to be it. I'll see you guys then, and hopefully we're in for 2 great shows.